will be ready to fight. Yes, I will be ready to I'll the trainers and Susan got legend and that I got this guy. Fun about it. Look. Okay.
Oh, welcome along on number one pro wrestler broadcast. Monte The Pharaoh Steed here out of Indie Music Studio, where I'm filming from the Monte household, and straight from Wahoo Saloon is the great Jimmy Farrell, along with our special guest. And I just like to call him Coach. I don't want to call him Coach Brian, but Coach, how are you? Welcome to Long Island's number one pro wrestler broadcast, brother.
Doing great, man. Doing great. Fan of the show. Glad to be on. This is going to be a fun time here. If we can dodge the tomahawks, we're going to be great.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah,
around here, this is
if you could dodge the tomahawks. I got to tell you, Jimmy. Before we get on air, guys, Jimmy and I were talking, and we're starting to realize that everybody we meet now, Jimmy, right, is younger than us. It kind of sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah, this show is going to wind up being for the hearing impaired if this keeps up. Not good.
Do you think we'll still be doing this when we're like really old and wrinkly, if we survive? I mean, odds of us really getting to that age are probably not really possible, but in case something like that happens, what do you think?
Live from Pine Lawn Cemetery, Monte and the Pharaoh. You know what? I can honestly, Mike, I can see us doing this for a very, very long time. We've already been doing it for a while, but yeah, I can see it because I can't picture you going, nah, I don't want to do it no more. I think you're always going to want to do it, you know?
I got to tell you, it has become a little bit of an addiction, but the one thing I will tell you, I do not like shooting out of a bedroom, like out of my man cave. It's just like, ugh, I just want to be in a studio.
Now, hold on. Number one, it looks good. Number two, you have a man cave. What are you complaining about?
I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know.
I mean,
but you know what the good part about this? You know what the good part about this is, Jimmy? We've been lucky enough to be part of Coach's show. Which, by the way, Coach, you're fantastic at what you do. You're incredible. So kudos to you, sir. But but I'm happy now that Coach, it's on the other foot now, right? Now Coach is the guy going to be interviewed, and Coach is the guy. And ESPN's kind of PG. Coach has entered like our level. We're going to get into our level subjects here, and I'm very interested to know where Coach's mind is on a lot of things, all wrestling, and coming into WrestleMania weekend, we've got to talk about a lot of different things before we go over the matches. But there's so much that both I want to hear. Jimmy, I haven't really spoken to you. You've been a busy man. We have a lot to talk about and probably a lot to argue about because this could make us enemies. This WrestleMania could make us enemies if it turns out the wrong way.
Make us enemies because somebody wrote it a certain way? What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? And imagine you and I not having the same opinion. Oh, that's really hard to grasp onto. What are you talking about? That's what makes this show. I already disagree.
I just had this vision. Y'all talked about doing this in the old age. I had this vision of you two in the nursing home with each other. One takes a cane over the other one's head. I love it.
Yeah.
Coach, I don't know if Jimmy ever told you a story, but a couple of years ago, him and his band partner, Bart Griggs, came over the house, and we watched WrestleMania against Cody Roman. It was last year.
Yeah.
It was last year. And I don't think Jimmy and I shut up the entire car. All we did was sit there and friggin' just ramble, right?
Yeah.
I think I heard you were saying constantly, here comes the Rock.
Yeah.
Here comes
it was 4 hours of Here Comes the Rock. Here he comes, and this is how it's going to happen. And then you rewrite it. Well, you know what? Well, maybe that was enough, but this is how it's going to happen. I'm like, stop. He's not coming.
I want to give kudos to Bruce from ESO. He's always there to bail us out. If everybody knows, We were filming out of the great indie music studio out of Ronkonkoma, Long Island. Unfortunately, the owner has decided to go into a different field, so the television studio has closed.
Right.
So Jimmy and I are right now working and looking at other studios, and we've got two in mind. One is Tin Mirror, which we shot the Palumbo interview out of, and that looks like that probably will be our home. Abe is still with us. Abe is at home convalescing, getting ready to do some more shows. So Bruce, last week we had some problems at Tin Mirror. That's why we didn't get the show off, full disclosure. And so we said, hey, look, let's make sure it's tight before we try again. And Bruce is doing a great job producing, as he always does. And we'll talk about some of the things coming up on the channel after this show. But a little news items, guys, if we could discuss it. Conjoined twin Abby Hansel is now married. Conjoined twins Abby and Brittany Hansel first gained national attention when they appeared on Oprah Winfrey in 1996. They recently got married, Jimmy and Coach. What are your thoughts about the man who marries conjoined twins? And by the way, Bruce, producer, did you throw that picture up there? I didn't see it. I don't know.
Yeah, we saw it. Now, wait a minute, though. If I'm reading this correctly, one of them got married, right?
Oh, there's two heads there, bro.
Yeah, I understand that, but it sounds like one of them got married, and what does the other one do when they're having sex?
So my question is,
What is this?
look, if they were in Utah, it'd be okay to
marry both of them,
right? I don't know. Or did that just anger all our listeners from Utah?
I don't want to get disgusting here, but the first thing I thought was like if they're teabagging the guy, like what is like one head underneath? What's going on there? What are we looking at there?
It's
Well, it's tag team wrestling. You tag out.
It sounds like a handicap match.
You tag out. I mean,
Oh God! What does the other one keep a foreign object in their back? Yeah, man, it's the same back pocket. I don't understand. Where do you find these stupid stories, Mike? I don't understand this. This is unnatural.
I honestly would love to like be married to a conjoined twin. That could be really interesting. Like what if you get mad at one, you could like, talk to the other, right?
Well, this one, what if they decide to get a divorce and the other one falls in love with the guy? No,
That's a
you
good
can't.
point.
I want to be with him now. But you already
That's
were with him, kind of. This is very confusing, dude.
It is confusing. Listen, I want to introduce the Monte The Pharaoh family to the great Coach. Coach is great broadcaster of 104.3 in Florida. And he's also, which I found amazing, Coach, and if you could share with the family, you're a national champion swim coach, bro. Like, how does that happen?
well, I mean, I helped develop a guy who went on to win the national championships. I didn't do it myself. I mean, I know you can't tell from the stunning physique, but no, it was something I actually got into on accident. When I was a senior in high school, I was lifeguarding at local swim club, the ones you go to in the summer, hang out all day. And they were in need of a coach. I had coached other sports, helping out. I swam when I was younger. And I said, look, if you guys can't find anybody, I'll do it. And sure enough, ended up getting the job and became a 30-year career. I was fortunate to work with kids from the very beginning, how to learn how to swim, and kids who ended up going on to the world championships and ultimately the Olympic Games.
Wow.
But I was also very fortunate to have some really good mentors along the way. Coached in Alabama and Tennessee and in Florida. It was a lot of fun. It was great helping kids in any sport, in any endeavor, reach their full potential. It was more rewarding than doing it yourself, which I found interesting, but came to a point where I kind of felt like I needed to do something different. We had a Category 5 hurricane hit us down here, right as we had kind of built what I thought was a team that was really going to be solid for many years to come. And that put us on the back shelf for about a year. And then as soon as we came out the other side of that, here comes this coronavirus. So it was a little rough. I was a little worn out and decided to step away from the pool deck, but still involved in the sport, still involved in helping young kids get better and ultimately go on to really big things like the Olympic Games. So
what's amazing to me, Coach, is like you're talking about like molding today's generation, which is incredible. But then we turn around and we find out that you're a pro wrestling fan. I mean, what are you thinking of, bro? It's like you're this sports guy training kids, and now we find out that you like pro wrestling, which is a little bit of a dirty mark on your resume, buddy. I mean, how do you become a pro wrestling fan?
Well, it's easier to coach the thing. Pro wrestling is the coolest thing in the world, when they're teenagers. So I was telling Jimmy the story about my guys used to walk around the deck doing the Cena theme song. I just tell them shut the hell up and get back in the water. But no, it's funny. I was, probably similar story to you guys, or certainly Jimmy. I was a fan when I was younger. I mean, this was the what do they call it? The golden age or whatever, with Hogan and the Sheik and then on to the Warrior, that kind of time when I was younger. Lapsed for a few years, got back in right around the Montreal screw job. Just fortuitous timing. Got into that, went through the Attitude Era, and then got out like a lot of people did, probably right off the back of the failed WCW invasion.
Right.
Just kind of lost interest. And I was aware, like I remember hearing Daniel Bryan. I remember hearing CM Punk, but I wasn't watching regularly. And oddly enough, the way things go, I kind of got out of coaching coming off the back of COVID. COVID's what got me back into wrestling, because I would go down the YouTube rabbit hole and I started watching the Pipe Bomb, and I would watch, Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30 and things. And it got me back into it. And I've just been enthralled by it ever since.
Well, it's funny, Jimmy. I was just thinking, I was expecting him to turn around and go, well, I got into it with Bob Backlund, and I realized this guy's much younger than us. So it's like, you knew that wasn't coming, right?
Yeah, we're the oldest guys in the room, Mike. What are you going to do?
Man, oh, man, it sucks. A little more news items. We'll get into a few other things. Jimmy, you're going to love this, bro.
Why?
Burglars steal $30 million in cash from Los Angeles money storage facility, one of the city's largest cash heists. FBI and Los Angeles Police Department are investigating one of the largest cash heists in the city history after as much as $30 million was stolen from the San Fernando Valley money storage facility. What are you thinking of that, bro?
What do I think? I'm really hoping that the homeless that basically own Los Angeles nowadays are the ones that stole it. That's what I think. I mean, I hope it went to the needy. Obviously, they needed something. Well, it took $30 million. I mean,
$30 million. I think 5 or 6 people can pay their taxes in California.
Oh,
I get it. But on a serious note, like, not that I think that stealing is a right way to live, but you got to give people credit when they could pull off a heist like that, man. You imagine the rush of pulling off $30 million. I mean, come on.
yeah. Well, when you say that, I'm picturing Ray Liotta in that awesome scene in Goodfellas where he hears the Lufthansa heist went off successfully. He's like banging on his shower. He's like, yeah, yeah. It's impressive.
The one thing, Jimmy and I were always smart, because if me and Jimmy tried to steal something like this, we would trip every alarm, fall over each other, and be caught in the first 3 minutes.
Well, first of all, I'm trying to figure out how you'd get through the broken window.
Yeah.
Right. You probably just push me in. Well, go, Jim.
That's so funny. Here's one, Jimmy and Coach.
Yeah.
This one's serious, though. This guy named Bryce Root, sentenced to life in prison for a 2016 triple murder conviction. Nearly 8 years after Bryce Rhodes was charged with brutally murdering 3 people, including 2 teenage brothers, his case is finally concluded Wednesday, with the judge following a jury's recommendation to sentence to spend the rest of his life in prison. Basically, he killed his father, and these 2 teenagers saw him. So what he did is he burnt them to death, lit them on fire while they were alive, and cooked them up. The guy shows no remorse. If you could catch a video out there of him in court when he's getting his sentences, man, I think you could see what pure evil's all about.
makes Charles Manson look pleasant, huh?
Yeah, a little bit. A little
Wow.
bit. I got to tell you, social media is a really good thing, but some of these videos that you see, you're like, man, I don't know, man. I don't know.
I don't get it. Why did it take 8 years for them to figure out that this guy needed to go? What's that?
I don't know. Maybe we got to, like Coach was saying, we got to pay more taxes to make sure that,
Well, that's where I was going to go with this is why are we paying for this guy to live out the rest of his days?
He got a lot of free meals for the last 8 years.
I mean,
that's what Jimmy thinks about. He's like, prison's not bad. You get some free meals.
He got free meals. He got free room and board. He's upset. I mean, give me a break.
what do they say in the military? It's same as jail. 3 hots and a cot. There you go.
But wait a minute, Mike. The sentence was life. It wasn't, the electric chair. If he's into cooking people, he should be cooked, right?
It just said life, but I got to tell you, Jimmy, if you catch a video when you're just hanging around, you check it out. This guy is pure evil. Talking about evil or evil character, we kind of covered this a little bit when we were on with Coach, but I wanted to get your guys' take. The Bray Wyatt documentary came out April 1st. So I'll start off with my thoughts about Bray Wyatt, and then you guys weigh in because I'm probably so. The documentary, of course, was well done. The WWE just knows how to do documentaries. Like I said, they can make me look good if they wanted to.
Okay.
But, on ESPN, Jimmy, you and Coach both said that I think that you guys thought that Bray Wyatt was a genius. And I think I've always said to you, Jimmy, I thought the Bray Wyatt characters were fantastic. But once he got into the ring, I felt, and I think I've said this before he passed away many times, I thought he always, no matter who his character was, it lost its luster. I never thought he was a good wrestler. In fact, I did, I think you might have used the word serviceable at the time, Jimmy, and I'll let you guys speak to it. But I just thought that's why he never got over as much as he should have, because his wrestling was so bad.
So then I'll pass it on over to Code. As far as his wrestling goes, I don't think he was bad. I actually think he was good. Okay. I always felt that he told a good story in the ring and he got a great reaction and he was quite capable of wrestling. You go back and look at some of his matches. There's some really good ones. He had some great matches with Daniel Bryan. I don't know if people remember that. Now, as far as, the problem with Bray, his ideas were amazing. All of them. Every idea he ever had was amazing. I think it's in the application of his ideas that some of them got a little convoluted and lost. The example where it worked, and once again, I bet Vince had a lot to do with it, was the swamp. The swamp Bray was fantastic, and I think that Vince had a lot to do with that. Later on with the Freak, it wasn't handled as well, But he was, as far as being over, Bray was always over. Okay, I believe that it was always over. What about when he finally returns recently? I mean, I remember you calling me and going, "Holy crap, that was a hell of a return." You know what I'm saying? Bray Wyatt was loved by the fans. He was very over. He was world championship material. I don't know how many times he won the belt, but I know he did win the belt a couple of times, I believe. He was very, very over. I thought he was a good wrestler. He left us too soon, and we're never going to know. But again, though, even when he came back, the application was lacking. I mean, we were all going, so he's back. So what's happening now? I think what was really happening behind the scenes was Bray might have been back in body, but I'm not sure Bray was back in mind and body. So who knows what was going on behind the scenes with that. Coach, your thoughts on Bray?
I probably, excuse me, I probably fall between the two of you on this. I thought I didn't like everything that he did. I was not a fan of the Firefly Funhouse. The Fiend, it would be okay, but then when he's getting lit on fire and then he's back, 2 weeks later, things like that. I don't work. But here's what I loved about Bray Wyatt. I loved the fact that he would try anything,
right,
and he would go for it, even if it missed. I appreciated the fact that he was creative. He would push the bar and he would try things. I always appreciate a guy who's going to do that creatively. You're not going to hit every time. but I like a guy who'll do that instead of someone who'll just take the safe road, do the same thing over and over and over.
Ric Flair?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what they used to say to Cena, when he'd go, the ballroom, that it'd be same old shit,
Right.
So I think with Bray, I loved, the Louisiana, the Cape Fear.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was great.
Yep.
I loved some of the things. I'm kind of with you, Monty, a little. He wasn't a great wrestler in the sense of, he certainly wasn't a chain wrestler, wasn't a big high spot guy, but some of his moves, I loved when he would do like the upside down thing and look at you. That was telling a wonderful story.
Right.
I love that. The Sister Abigail was a great move, I thought.
Yeah.
Just really impactful, quick, but there were some things that obviously didn't work. So I liked him a lot. I liked the fact that he would try things and was extremely creative, but not everything hit, for me. So it's what it was. His return was epic. And then it was kind of, okay, where are we going?
It dissipated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike, I'm going to put you on the spot. Bray Wyatt, Hall of Famer? I say yes.
Look, you know what, Jimmy, and I hate to say it, it's like Bray Wyatt is like Brian Pillman. Their death made them more famous than they would have been if they stayed alive and were a wrestler. I felt that Bray Wyatt. Look, remember when he was coming back? I was more concerned he was going to show up at AEW because I was like, oh man, they can't let this guy go to AEW. You got to sign him, got to bring him. And you're right, his return was epic and it was great. But like you and Coach said, he fizzled out fairly quickly and was forgotten. Was it the writing? I don't know. But Bray Wyatt, Hall of Famer, he's a Hall of Famer because he died. If he didn't die, he's not a Hall of Famer. There's nothing to me that, I think Big Two in a row, he was supposed to be the replacement for The Undertaker, but realized The Undertaker's shoes are just way too big.
Right, but whoever said he was supposed to be the replacement for The Undertaker? It's funny how he gets lumped in with The Undertaker. Why? Because he played a dark character? That's not on him. So I don't believe that he ever was supposed to be the next Undertaker. What he was the next dark figure, Your comparison to Brian Pillman, though, there's a huge difference between Bray Wyatt and Brian Pillman, and that's body of work. Bray Wyatt was in the WWE on and off for a decade. Brian Pillman was a blip on the radar in comparison, and that's no disrespect to Brian Pillman. It's just a fact. It's just a mathematical fact that Bray Wyatt was part of one of the great, can we call the Wyatt family a faction? I think we should. That's one of the great
one of the great factions of all time. But Jimmy, it's weird. I'm surprised you're putting Wyatt over Pillman. I'm a little surprised at that.
And look, at the end of the day, it's about the back of your baseball card. I really don't, for the most part, with me, I don't think that there's any comparison. The body of work it speaks for itself. Bray Wyatt did much, much, much more than Brian Pillman. Brian Pillman cut out way too soon. I mean, so did Bray, but look at all that Bray accomplished over the years. He was world champion of the biggest company in the world. He fought The Undertaker at WrestleMania, did he not? He was the leader of the Wyatt family, that feuded with the Shield, and the Shield's greatest opponent, the Shield, which is the greatest faction of the last bunch of years too, their greatest opponent was the Wyatt family. So basically, I don't even think it's close as far as the back of the baseball card.
All right, next question I got for both guys. We were going to talk about this last week. So this week's Dark Side of the Ring was on Harley Reese. And again, I almost feel like Dark Side of the Ring is running out of gas. But the week before, Brutus Beefcake, who Missy Beefcake's been on the channel before, fantastic guest. So as Brutus, we've interviewed him also, Jimmy.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about Brutus Beefcake, the wrestler? And I'd like both of you to weigh in. Like Brutus Beefcake, the wrestler, and you think Hulk Hogan's too rough on the guy, that Hulk Hogan should have still remained friends and not beat him up so bad on the dirt sheets?
Well, you know what, Mike, as usual, it goes back to, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes, and we don't know what Hogan and Beefcake argued about for sure over the years. So I really can't comment much on what Hogan should have done or what he shouldn't have done. Brutus Beefcake is kind of, in a way, one of those guys who was big time when he was big time, and now it seems like he's getting swept under the rug somewhat in the annals of time. And That's not right. I'll say that much. Brutus Beefcake was a big draw when he was the barber. He was a huge draw. And it's funny, you talk about Bray Wyatt not being, exactly Daniel Bryan, but I mean, if you look back at Brutus's matches, what was Brutus's moveset?
Yeah.
He was very limited, but it didn't matter in those days. He was over, very, very over.
But you know what I think hurts him long term, and in the discussion of historical wrestling about him, he didn't have that seminal moment, I think. I mean, I loved him with Valentine. I thought that was great. But to be honest, if you ask somebody who came into wrestling, maybe around my time, maybe after, the most famous thing they know Brutus Beefcake for was when Shawn threw Marty through the damn glass on the barbershop. Didn't have anything to do with Brutus. I mean, I think the hardest thing is trying to find what was that seminal moment for Brutus as a wrestler, and I just don't think he had it. I don't know that it's his fault.
Right.
But it's going to be hard for you to have any kind of legacy without that, moment. But I mean, I thought he was good. He was serviceable through the years. Was, what do they say, a good hand?
Right.
But and then obviously after the accident, it was always going to be tough for him. And everybody was in the NWO, so he's not going to shine out there. So I just think he's probably a victim as to not having that one thing that people remember him.
Mike, perhaps instead Brutus the Barber Beefcake was an additive, not necessarily a preservative like a Hogan.
It's a lot of good points, man. I remember Brutus being hot for that moment, had that accident, and he did a few main events, I think SummerSlam, whatever else he did. But yeah, it's funny, guys. I was thinking to myself the other day, like, we got WrestleMania coming. Doesn't wrestling seem much more serious now than it was back then? Like, we're talking about these matches like they're real life fights about to happen, where everything back then was gimmicked. I mean, put Andre Hogan aside, and again, I'm not talking about the NWA because you know how I feel about all that, right? I understand it was the wrestler fans wrestling, but again, couldn't draw flies in my opinion. But it just seems more serious, man. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I mean, kayfabe has been smashed to smithereens, obviously, and you got a generation who knows everything is scripted, so you better make it as serious as you possibly can. And in recent weeks, it seems more serious than ever, especially with The Rock's recent, beatings of Cody. I mean, were they beating them with a belt at the end of Raw? I'm like, wow, like that in quite a while.
It's funny. I had a friend that was going with his son. He's like, "Hey, man, why don't you come?" My wife's like, "Go." And you know how I feel about it, Jimmy. I cannot go to a live wrestling event ever again after the last you and I went. It was too much, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, you didn't bring a sign, and you didn't make the show about yourself. What's wrong with you?
Exactly. And I'm like, wow, not like the old days.
What's funny? I was thinking about this the other day. You watch, and what I remember from the Attitude Era is everybody had a damn sign.
Yeah.
You couldn't see any people because everybody had a damn sign. And I was like, you hardly see any signs anymore. Well, of course not, because they're all holding their phones.
Right.
Yes.
Because they all have to put up a reaction video. I wish one time everybody would just sit there and watch and cheer. You want to talk about people being loud?
Right.
Put the phones down, put the signs down, watch and cheer. Oh my God, the pops you would get would be unbelievable.
That's what really blows my mind. People go to a live event, and they're staring at their phones
the whole time.
You paid good money to see the event live. What are you doing?
It's not just wrestling. I think I told you, right? I go to a lot of Yankee games, right? And I sit in some major seats, right? Not that I could afford it, right? I get given people give me tickets, right? But you got these rich kids down there that literally, I guess, I don't know what making their money, but they're spending the whole time on the phone. They're not even watching the game from a $7,000 seat. It's like, what are you doing?
Right. It used to be that the game itself was the event. Now it's, I'm at the game. That's the event. And that's really sad to me. You're really missing out on quite a bit there. Why don't you just watch the game and buy a hot dog for $40?
Okay, Jimmy, I think, Coach, I think everybody wants to be famous. I think that's what it is. Oh, by the way, we got to do a cameo. We got to do a cameo video after this, Jimmy. I forgot to tell you that.
Oh, okay. All right.
All
I
right.
don't want to be
Big
I wanna be
interview.
famous. I just want to do a show. What the
Big
hell?
interview. CM Punk came out, had a lot to say. Spoke about AEW, Jack Perry, Tony Khan. I'm sure everybody's seen that interview, or at least I hope you did, because if you didn't, it's definitely a must listen. Jimmy, I'd almost say they did as good of a job as you and I did. I'm not going to put them over. You and I a little better interviewers, but they did a pretty good job. What's your thoughts about CM Punk? So I'll just say this. I've never been a CM Punk fan. I am a Phil Brooks hater, always have been. But I will tell you, I came out of the interview thinking a little bit different about Phil Brooks the other day. What do you guys thought about that interview?
Well, as usual, you know me. I haven't seen the interview. I've only read snippets of it. We talked about it earlier in the weekend, and I agree with you that he took Tony Khan's money, and maybe he shouldn't be saying too much. But you know something, though, there's one thing that's for sure. Whether you agree with this or not, what can I do? CM Punk is a wrestler and loves pro wrestling and wants the best out of wherever he's at. If he doesn't feel that 100% is being given in his own mind as to what wrestling is, he's going to say something. That's the way he always was. It's the pipe bomb that made him famous in the first place. So far be it for CM Punk to keep his feelings to himself. As far as Tony Khan goes, I pretty much feel that what he said about Tony Khan is correct. He's a fanboy. He's not a boss. And I think you would agree with that, Mike. He's not a boss, not compared to the model that we watched growing up, known as Vince McMahon. It's not even close. He lets the guys run the locker room. And I said it at the time. If you're picking Jack Perry over CM Punk, you don't know crap about business. What are you doing? You brought the guy in and you let the lesser guys, you really think that CM Punk should accept that the Young Bucks have that much clout? Fuck the Young Bucks. Get the fuck out of here. I mean, I would have been insulted too if I was CM Punk, and I know it's controversial between you and me, but all those years ago, I would have been insulted if I was CM Punk with what happened at WrestleMania. He was the hardest working guy. He had the belt for over a year. It's funny, Roman Reigns is now shot at. Roman Reigns had this current reign. It was Punk's reign that everybody talked about for years and years and years. So Punk is a guy who stands by his convictions, and you got to give that to him. At least he's consistent. Coach?
Well, I actually watched the entire interview, and
Mark. Anyway,
exactly.
Go ahead.
No, I thought it was excellent, and I'll tell you why it was excellent, because it did not feel in that interview like a lot of wrestler interviews. It didn't feel like he was trying to work us.
Right.
It sounded like he was just telling his opinion on how this goes. As you need to find your power.
Where is it? It's right over here. All right, Coach, go around. Coach is going to go around and hook it up.
There we go.
Unbelievable. Live or Memorex. I keep knocking out the power cord, Mike. So if I had suddenly disappeared, you would have been like, where the hell is he, Bruce? You screwed up.
There you go.
Where is he?
Now the battle is running low. There you go, folks. Live TV.
What would you do without me?
You got to love it. So anyway, as we were saying, Mark, you were watching the interview.
Take two. No, so basically, look, he wasn't trying to work us. He wasn't running an angle. That was Phil Brooks talking. And I thought it was excellent. And you can tell, look, he didn't go out there and play hot take radio. He wasn't trying to savagely take Tony Khan down. What he was saying was, look, he's a nice guy. You can't be a nice guy and be the boss. He was 100% right. And, look, Punk is a disagreeable human being. He is. He would say that.
You think?
That's just what he is. But he's 100% right in that all of this started with Hangman Page. And that interview he cut in the ring, and where he just went off script, went into the Colt Cabana stuff.
Yeah.
And Punk played it like a professional, but it was like, are we going to do something about this? And as soon as it wasn't, I think he knew at that point how this was going to end. The brawl out happens. All of that goes on. The thing that was interesting for me was I didn't realize it looked like he had totally given up on it after that. Like he stuck around because the money was there. He wasn't going to get cut loose. whatever. But in his mind, he knew it wasn't going to work at that point. I probably should have seen that, but that was kind of a revelation to me. It doesn't surprise me that Tony Khan wouldn't step in. He's a guy who does not like confrontation. He doesn't.
He likes cocaine.
Well, they call him the snowman, but whatever.
No, there you go.
But the thing about it was, I just enjoyed the fact that, again, I didn't think Punk worked us. I didn't think he was out there to ruin Tony Khan's life. I thought he was just being very honest about the situation, what he could talk about. To me, the most interesting thing that came out of that entire interview was when he, obviously the NDA stuff on Brawl Out, when he was asked, did you get hurt in the ring or in the fight? And he just went,
kind of left that.
That
open.
was an interesting answer to me, because that might explain a hell of a lot about how all of that went with the lawyers and everything else. So I thought it was
Coach, that's a great point. But you know what also was telling to me? When he said that the wrestlers just want to wrestle their one day out of the 4 months and go home. And I was thinking about what kind of commitment, like if you're an AEW fan and you hear that. Now I understand these guys do their crazy stuff and whatever they do, but if you're a fan, that's what you don't want to hear. You don't want to see a bunch of millionaires work one day a week and go home and break glass because they don't want to go and perform in Canada. I was like, wow, how could you be a fan of any of those wrestlers in that organization if that's the way they think?
Well, that's why we have as much of a private fan base as we do the company itself. It's hypocritical. The very things that they profess to love, they look the other way when one of their own doesn't abide by it. It's the same old crap. Mike, this was really interesting. I wanted to get your take on this because Coach mentioned this to me earlier in the week. When he talked about how Tony Khan was not made to be a boss in this sort of business, Coach pointed out, he goes, I wonder if that means that, and I'm paraphrasing you, Coach, I wonder if that means that CM Punk might have found a newfound respect for his time working for Vince with a comment like that. And how do you think that they would have gotten along if Vince hadn't, disappeared recently? Do you think that CM Punk has, a new appreciation perhaps for Vince McMahon?
That's a good question, Jimmy, but I will tell you, when Punk was asked about the allegations against Vince McMahon, Punk really, I mean, he didn't say anything bad, but he certainly didn't agree with, he basically said, hey, good riddance, Vince. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But that follows with Punk. I mean, I wouldn't say Punk and I align ideologically or politically.
Right.
You can tell that. I mean, he wears that on his sleeve. I thought he was very honest. I love the fact that he started with the first reaction he had. Look, a PR person is going to tell you the first reaction is, oh my God, the victims believe everybody, this, that, or the other. Now, what Punk said was, my first reaction was, I can't believe he left this paper trail. Because that was my first reaction.
Right.
It was like, he's not this stupid.
Right.
I mean, we can get into the allegations all day long and what we believe and what we don't believe, but that was my first reaction too. He did go on and said a lot of the things you would expect him to say, but with Phil, I believe that he believes that. I don't believe anything he said was like toe the PR line, make sure of that. I thought it was interesting. He talked about the one time he saw Vince was, it was probably his funniest line of the interview, Mike. I know you saw it, was, where he talked about seeing him in the gym and he says, let's catch up. And then Ariel goes, did y'all catch up? And he goes, no, some things happened. But I thought it was an excellent interview. Just in terms of, and you could tell he didn't want to peel back the curtain too far, but I never felt like he was working me. I felt like that was an honest interview.
That's a really good point. It's funny. Right after that, they had the Rhea Ripley interview, and I think what's his name, Ariel Amani. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong.
Amani. Yeah.
He should not work scripted interviews because he was a mess, because he knew this Becky Lynch thing was going to be set up, and it was so badly done by all three of them. It was like night and day. Jimmy, the CM Punk interview was lights out, unbelievable, one of the most fantastic interviews you'll ever see. And then the Rhea Ripley interview was equally one of the worst interviews you'd ever see.
Well, you know what? At the end of the day, whether you're a fan of CM Punk or not, that is one of the most polarizing men that have ever worked in this business. CM Punk will never, ever lay an egg. He's CM Punk, one way or the other. And yeah, I'm a mark for CM Punk. I got you. Not as much a mark for Phil Brooks, but that's a whole different story. But Punk is a winner, period. And that includes his UFC career, because basically he had the balls and the honesty to get in front of the WWE audience and go, "Hey, I tried. At least I tried." He addressed that. I gave it a shot. At least I had the balls to do that. You know what I mean? The guy's not afraid to look in the mirror. And he does bitch and complain a lot, but at least he's consistent about his agenda and what he wants to get across to the audience.
You know, it was all interesting. I'm curious your thoughts on this. It was interesting, the bit where he talked about nobody contacted him. Nobody helped him, get his doctor stuff and all that. And the thing that I always come back to when people ask me my thoughts on AEW, it's like a television series that has this wonderful premise. They run the first season. It's a giant hit. And they're like, what the hell do we do now? That's what AEW is to me. They had this great idea. They went out and did it themselves. They did this all-in thing. It was great. They became an alternative. And they had no plan. And everything they've done is hotshot, reactive, no plan, no structure, no business organization. And now we're seeing the detriment of that. They literally hot-shotted it for as long as they could. They get Punk, they get Bryan, they get or Danielson, they get Cole. And
they got Mercedes Moné now. Oh,
but even
worst rating in years, Mike.
That didn't even last a night. At least the others, it lasted a night.
I gotta be honest with you guys. And Jimmy, I told you in studio when you were still here in New York, I'm like, when they got Paige, I'm like, that's a home run, and they failed. And then when I said to you, you got to sign Mercedes Moné. That will be the game changer. And boy, am I wrong. It's like, I'm going to tell you what. I realize the problem, Coach. You just said it. Jimmy said it. But here's the real problem. Wrestlers are bigger than life. Their wrestlers are not bigger than life. The closest they came was MJF, and that was it. They don't have those guys that you're like, I can't be Roman Reigns. I can't be John Cena. But you sure can be Adam Cole.
The funniest thing to me, when AEW was doing their best work and was their most successful, was when they were leaning into this idea of the four pillars. And I don't think outside of MJF, any of them are terribly special. I mean, Sammy can do some great flips, and Jungle Boy originally had a decent story, and Darby just likes getting the hell beat out of him. But they were guys that they were developing. They were telling a story, especially with MJF. And then it became WCW. Then it became TNA. Let's sign all the WWE guys and just throw them in and have these matches that don't make any damn sense. You bring Edge back over as Adam Copeland. You got him on live TV with Christian Cage in 3 weeks. That should have been a 6-month build to a huge match.
Yep. Everything's instant gratification over there.
They're hot shotting it.
And I hate to say it like this, Jimmy. I told you this too before. You can't build your organization around Japanese wrestlers. It doesn't work. You can't. They have to be an American wrestler. You cannot, it's good to throw them in there and they could be the filler, but they cannot be, here's Takesha, Takeshna, whatever the fuck his name is. Yeah. It's like, let's bring him in here. It means nothing. It's just bad. Look, I want to move on to a really important subject because I think it's really important. I'm going to switch my glasses here, if you don't mind. We all know Ronda Rousey has gone on the attack on the WWE, right? And we all know that Vince McMahon has been under a lot of scrutiny. But recently, Vince McMahon's lawyers have released a love letter from Miss Janelle Grant.
Right.
And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it basically goes, true love can be found where it does exist, nor can true love be hidden where it does exist. It's not something that you find. It's something that finds you. I didn't know who you were the day I met you, but I immediately knew that the missing piece had clicked into a place the moment I saw your face. I love you straightforwardly without complexity or pride. I love you because I know other than this, but we are so close that when your hand on my leg and my hand, your arms wrap around me and your arms, and when they're close our eyes at night, I fall asleep on you. Yada, yada, yada.
Oh,
Game over or game over?
game
Now,
over.
Dan from Dan and Benny in the Ring, who's on the channel, I love the guy,
Okay.
but he basically said it was a cheap shot by McMahon trying to discredit Janelle Grant. At what point does the hatred stop? Cut your losses. This was an affair that eventually woman took money to do things beyond normality of sexuality. Doesn't mean it's wrong. She took pay and she was in love with a millionaire, and finally the well went dry. What are you guys' thoughts? I'm very interested now. Jimmy, I know where you're coming from, Coach.
Well, let me get this in first. First of all, you love someone. You do not do all those other things because you love them. Oh, let me go have sex with this guy, and let me go have sex with that guy. And what is he, Charles Manson? You know, you don't fall. That's love, okay? And what is the age difference between these two? That she's completely enamored and in love with Vince McMahon. Well, what is it? This is so bitter grapes. You took money on top of it, and what is this crap about Vince releasing this to discredit? It's called defending yourself. Aren't you allowed to defend yourself? Oh no, I guess we should just throw him up on the stake right now and put the nails through his wiener. What are we talking about here? He's got every right to defend himself. And Mike, I wonder what is the internet reaction to when Vince released this? Is everybody having that opinion that you just mirrored from Dan? Or, I mean, what is this? He's got every right to defend himself.
Honestly, I haven't gauged out there. I will tell you that anybody that doesn't say this game is over now, right? When you write this letter, I mean, the new excuse is that he willed her to write the letter. He convinced her to write this letter because he had this ultimate power on this woman. Again, you can hate a man for whatever reason, jealousy or whatever else, or all these wrongdoings he's supposedly done that he's never been arrested for. Again, clearly I'm a Vince McMahon guy. All right. It takes a lot for me to get off the Vince McMahon train. But when you take money, have sex, you have lost all your credibility. But again, there's people out there like Dan and Benny in the Ring, Joe from What a Day. They love the glory of attacking Vince McMahon. And I love those guys, but I'm just calling them out for their bullshit because today should have been the day that they were on air and they should have, all three of them, apologized for their accusations against Vince McMahon. But they didn't because people have trouble admitting when they're wrong. Vince, again, is going to die a winner. Okay? It's a shame that TKO is kind of trying to knock him out of the box. But again, this is a 78-year-old man who had sex with a 38-year-old woman, and then it got a little different than the normal sex that maybe the three of us have with people. But again, she took money. She clearly loved the guy. You don't write a letter like that if you were being abused sexually. Okay, you don't write that letter. Okay?
Mike, that letter reeks of obsession. Can I use that word? Because that's what that
absolutely.
That letter reeks of obsession. Coach, what's your take on all of this?
Well, look, and that's where some people have the issue here, because I think it's very clear from everything we've heard that Janelle Grant certainly had issues with, not having people in her life. I mean, her parents, I think, died early. She was always looking for that father figure. She did not have normal relationships with people. So I say all that to say, quite frankly, this was very predictable. And it was going to happen with somebody. Now, we have spun the tale through the last decade, particularly, to anybody in any level of authority should know and be able to sense and be able to reject that kind of stuff. The problem is that people who need that in their life will find it eventually. And here's what I think. And it's hard because we don't know the story. But I think absolutely, I told you this, Jimmy, from day one. I think it started extremely consensually.
Right.
And then at some point, I think it probably just got a little too far.
Right.
And she said, that's enough. And it was like, okay, we'll pay you off. We'll get all this. Whatever happened, the money dried up. I don't know.
I think she said that's enough when Vince said that's enough of you.
It could be.
That's what I think.
That's the thing.
Vince was like, okay, that's enough. And then she went,
This is my belief. I think it was said that's enough when Linda McMahon said, everybody knows about this, Vince. Enough.
Could be.
Cut it off.
Right.
It's too much. Get rid of it. You're embarrassing me now. And that's when it ended.
I think that's entirely plausible. To me, it could also be literally that, look, if you're engaging in some of the stuff that we're hearing, it can start consensual and all of a sudden it can just get to the point. And it's like you said, the credibility is shot because you went along with X, Y, and Z. And now A is the thing you have a problem with. I think it's very difficult to do that. But to your point earlier about the guys that, won't backtrack on this. Like I've said for years, the cable news or whatever started it. It's more important to have been right than to be correct, which is idiotic.
Yes.
It's the dumbest thing in the world. It's fine to say, you know what? I got that wrong and move on. Look, if Vince had come out and just said all these things that he believed about her, and those were hatchet job, that's one thing. A letter she wrote, that's not a hatchet job. That's not attacking her. That's not a cheap shot. Right. That's exactly what Jimmy said. That's defending him.
So. Right. She's just bitter at the end of the day. She's just bitter.
And by the way, we apologized to Matt Riddle, right, Jimmy? We were on Matt Riddle's case for a year. We actually might have caused him a lot of problems. But you know what? In the end, we realized we were wrong. We were wrong. I'll even say again, Matt Riddle, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Matt.
Hey,
Riddle.
I'll tell you what, though, and this shouldn't be lost either. Matt Riddle, who didn't really have much accountability, has recently shown quite a bit.
Yeah.
So you know something, Mike? Whether we were on his case or not, he obviously got the message. He's trying to make things better. So I think it's a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't want Matt Riddle to fail in life. I actually like Matt Riddle. I mean, what are you going to do?
All right, but now I'm going to put you on the spot, Jimmy. Is Misha Montana a good-looking porn star?
No.
All right, at least just staying honest.
Yeah.
Last thing before we go to commercial break, Ronda Rousey. What's the deal there? What are your guys' thoughts about Ronda Rousey, who really has gone out of her way to attack? I mean, now she's complaining that I think one of the wrestlers grabbed one of her drawstrings on her sweatpants. Really?
Drew Gulak, right? Supposedly.
Yeah.
Reading this correct. Look, Ronda Rousey needs to shut the fuck up. I mean, seriously. First of all, totally limited in the ring. And by the way, this is once again kudos to Vince McMahon because he sees the maximum potential in somebody and then he executes a well thought out plan a lot more than he doesn't for all those people who are already throwing things at me on the screen. He does. He thinks things out. He executed Ronda Rousey, who was done in UFC. He was able to maximize her past reputation, book her correctly, and launch a women's revolution. Okay? Ronda Rousey is an ingrate. And that's all there is to it. She's ungrateful. She hates the fans for booing her. I'm not getting off of that. Okay. Oh my God, you booed me. Remember that face? She looked like she was going to cry on camera because she's getting booed. This is wrestling. Okay. If we don't like you, obviously we're going to tell you so, especially nowadays. All right. She was booked like a complete champion and then gave all the credit to her first run in WWE to Triple H. Oh, bullshit. That was Vince McMahon. Get the hell out of here. And then when you come back, oh, you're not being booked the same way. Well, you're not worth the same thing. You weren't the same when you came back. It showed on your face, Rhonda, and we can see it. I mean, I've been watching wrestling for 50 years. I know when someone's giving it their all. She wasn't giving it her all. Get the hell out of here. And now
she's another one. Oh, she's another one that won't admit when she's wrong. She's another one that won't admit when she's wrong. So.
No,
look. This one is so easy. It's unbelievable. She's selling a book.
Right.
You cannot convince me any way, shape, or form that the grab of the sweatpants string bothered her at the time. Because if it had, I guarantee you, she's one of the few women on the planet who would have done something about it.
Right.
I'm not saying
she would have beat Drew Gulak's ass. She would have beat him down like a bitch.
Yeah, I think she absolutely could have, but even if she hadn't done that, she was a big enough star to get something done about
Right.
it.
Right.
She wasn't just
Drew
also
Gulak?
ran.
I mean, Drew Gulak would have been out of there like shit through a goose.
She's not Ilea or Shotzi.
Right.
No, she's Ronda effing Rousey.
Right.
You know?
Right.
She could have done something, but what she's doing is right for what she's doing now. As much as I
Right.
hate it
Right.
for morality and everything like that, she's selling a damn book, and this will help her sell the book.
Right. And
That's all.
I gotta get this in too. Drew Gulak would have broke her neck. All right. She's not beating up Drew Gulak. I'm not buying it. Okay. I'm not. Oh, it's Ronda Rousey. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, she'll probably twist me into a pretzel, but Drew Gulak? Nah, I don't think so. I don't think so.
You can't convince me that truly bothered her at the time. Should he have done it? Probably not. Was it playful? Yeah, probably. And then he realized, hey,
Wait a minute. What's going on here? We can't even have fun with our coworkers. You can't
Nope.
even have a little fun.
Nope.
Give it up. This
Nope.
is out of control, man.
it is
Right.
out of control.
Right. Oh, and wrestling's fake. Everything is fake. I love how she's throwing that around now. Oh, it's all fake over there.
You know what's funny? The dumbest thing in the world is when they brought her back the second time, the dumbest thing they did with her is make her, you could tell how, y'all said it, you could tell how forced it was.
Yeah.
Having her walk out there holding this damn smile that she didn't mean.
Right.
She should have came back as the uber heel.
Right.
She could have leaned into that, and it
Yep.
would have been the baddest woman on the planet again.
Yeah.
And they would have got out of it than whatever
Yep.
they tried to do. And putting her up against.
By the way, there is a story out there that she was going to come back as a heel, and Heyman had a choice. They were either going to give him Ronda, or Roman, and they went with Roman.
Really?
Well, boy, did
Yeah.
he choose correctly. Boy,
That's why he's going into the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'd like to thank the band that sings the theme song for Monte the Pharaoh and Jimmy Farrow. That's that guy to your right, Coach. Along with his partner, Bart Griggs, make up the band Wisteria Hall. Wisteria Hall sings such great dreams. Did you say it, Jimmy?
But man,
Thank you.
There
They
we go.
sing such great songs as In My Dreams, This Life Not Far Behind, Here Comes the Rain. You can find their music on the Wisteria Hall YouTube page. Download their music on Spotify, Apple Music, and Reverb Nation. Coach, have you ever sampled some Wisteria Hall music?
You know, I haven't yet. He's been withholding it from me because he likes trolling me with a bunch of crappy Creed songs.
you jerk.
No,
He doesn't like Creed. This guy's tone deaf.
can't do it.
What the hell's wrong with him? He wishes Scott Stapp nothing but bodily harm. There's something wrong with him,
I kind of do.
you know. And then he puts on the violent femmes at work all the time. Hey, Jimmy, we do it all the time. Yeah, yeah,
Bam.
we do it all the time.
But Jim, Coach, I highly recommend Wisteria Hall, man. They got two really good albums. And you know what? I'm an honest guy. If I didn't like it and Jimmy asked me, I would be like, oh, yeah, it's all right. But I actually, back when I had an iPod, I have it. But I actually have it on my iPhone because their music you could download off of, like I said, Spotify and Reverb Nation. And, you got iTunes and all that bullshit. So anyway, Coach, I'll be next time I see you, Alyssa, talk to you. I'm going to question you on some of Wisteria Hall's music, and I'm going to find out what you think.
I've got some homework.
Hey, do I get a couple of bonus points for being humble? I'm not like, listen to my band. Here, what do you think? Tell me how great I am. Mark.
Yeah, he does that with me. It's ridiculous.
I'll pay you a king's ransom to listen to my music.
Say it's good or I'll kill you. Ay, ay, ay.
If you didn't know, you are watching Long Island's #1 pro wrestler broadcast, Monte the Pharaoh. Catch us on the Monte the Pharaoh YouTube page, Monte the Pharaoh Facebook Live page. Jimmy, when they go to our YouTube page, what are they supposed to do?
They're supposed to like and subscribe and tell all their friends how great we are.
Right?
There you go. Thank you.
I got it right.
All right. You can also hear us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor. Catch us on the Monte the Pharaoh Twitch TV page. And if you're lucky enough to live in New York, you can catch us on New York Cable on Channel 115 every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. and then Saturdays at 11:30 a.m. Channel 20 Tuesdays at 7 p.m. We used to belong to a certain network, but we're no longer with them, right, Jimmy?
Nope.
We'll be right back where I'm with the great Jimmy Farrow along with the great coach. We're going to discuss our WrestleMania predictions, and I'm going to tell you what, it's fighting time.
Let's do it. I got to pee. We'll be right back.
And APB, American Protection Bureau, voted #1 best on Long Island for all your security needs. Call 631-390-9050. That's 631-390-9050. APB.
You need a body shop? You need engine repair? Auto Excellence, Collision Specialists, 631-261-6420. That's 631-261-6420. Auto Excellence. Jimmy, I gotta take a dump.
What?
No, I mean I need a dumpster.
Well, for all those needs, you need to call Big V Dumpster Rental, Long Island, New York, 631-900-DUMP. Elm Logistics, for all your logistic needs, call 631-299-3595. That's 631-299-3595. Elm Global Logistics, pride, performance, and partnerships. The Monte and the Pharaoh Show is brought to you by...
Because wine is your second favorite 4-letter word. California wine, New York attitude. Good fucking wine.
Yeah.
Tired of that same old breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Same old tasting scrambled eggs, burger, that dinner steak, ribs, or pork chops. Why not add a little bit of spice or just a touch of heat to make the difference? Change that scrambled egg with a little bit of Johnny Fabulous's John Cena Sr.'s $1 Million Jalapeno Hot Sauce. Great on burgers, steaks, chops, and those barbecued ribs.
And Nitro's Garage for all your automotive needs. Call 646-675-2349. That's 646-675-2349. For all your automotive needs, Nitro's Garage. Ask for Jack.
Do you treat your dog as part of the family? Well, so do we. So why not celebrate your pup's birthday with the ultimate party box? Check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Party Pup Info, and let us make your pup's party or any celebration perfection.
M&J Video Games and Collectibles. Sport and non-sport cards, wrestling items, autographed items. We buy, sell, and trade. M&J Video Games and Collectibles, located at 1049 Queen Street, Southington, Connecticut. Call us at 1-860-479-9223 or 860-93-GAMES. M&J, Video Games and Collectibles.
I guess we're live.
We're live.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestler broadcast, Monte The Pharaoh. We're across the ocean in another state, straight out of Wahoo Saloon, the great Jimmy Farrow.
Thank you. What's up?
And our special guest, Coach. Coach, how are you?
Doing well.
I'm well, enjoying it.
WrestleMania. Here's the deal. Let's start with this first. One thing I don't think anyone's really discussed. It's going to be like 38 degrees in Philadelphia Saturday and Sunday. Does that affect the card and the wrestlers? I understand the rings are heated and I get all that, but to be in your underwear in 38 degrees, it's got to affect you one way or another, don't you think?
Are they going to be wearing their Saudi outfits, the women? To warm up?
Well, right there, let me tell you something. If they do that, WrestleMania's ruined already. Could you imagine they come out in Saudi outfits?
What the hell? I'll tell you what, Mike, you know how I handle the show, all right? It's the way I handled it with the band over the years, and it's the way I've handled it with this show. It is time to perform. Yeah. You get the hell out there and you do what you've been training to do for years. You go do it. You don't, that should not play into your mind. You shut that out of your mind and you do what you're supposed to do. And that's it, you know? But it will be ruined if they come out in their long sleeve underoos. I can see you turning it off, Mike. I can.
Without a doubt. All right.
I don't see the match being an issue with them with the cold. Now, the entrance and all of that probably is going to suck at 38 degrees. And so will they have the same fervor, the same, you know, look, these are professionals. These are the best in the world.
Yeah.
I have a feeling they'll make it work. But to me, the entrance would be the worst part. Once they
What about the fans sitting there for a Roman Reigns? I counted. I watched SmackDown. Roman Reigns' entrance one time was almost 26 minutes.
Oh,
Right.
it's unbelievable.
Right. Well, this is what I got to say to the fans who get a little bit nippy out there, you know, like, oh, it's cold. All right. I sat in a snowstorm opening day, 1996. Joe Torre's first home game as manager. Andy Pettit was on the mound, and it snowed. And we were up in the upper deck, okay? It was cold up there. We were getting snowed on, and we cheered our balls off, all right?
Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute, Coach. You got to weigh in on this. So that must have been a very young Jimmy Farrow, because I remember just a few years back, me and Jimmy went to a signing in Queens in early March, and we had to get there early because you had to get on the line. And Jimmy says to me, Coach, fuck this, let's go home. It's too fucking cold.
Now, hold on, though. Are you comparing standing on a line, Mikey Mark and Marky Mark, compared to being at a Yankee game? Is that what you're comparing it? The guy behind me was farting, and I was grateful because he was warming us up. I mean, that was a horror show. There's no comparison. I would still go and sit at a Jet game in 30-degree weather and throw things at Zach Wilson.
I
Absolutely.
I understand not everybody is going to be local, but let's not get lost on this. This is freaking Philly.
Yeah.
These people will go to an
It's
Eagles game
psychotic.
without a shirt
They
on.
throw snowballs at Santa.
And you stole my line.
I'm sorry. I did it.
To throw
I did.
snowballs at Santa.
Yeah.
And let's face it, there's going to be plenty of liquid refreshment that gives these guys some heat.
And they're going to be young, most of them,
Well,
right? Right?
Your point is taken because, yeah, in some of the lull times, and look, WWE, WrestleMania, when you're there, there's a lot of video packages. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Right.
That's going to be when it sucks.
Right.
So
Right.
getting going, yeah. But look, if they
Right.
execute correctly, if they tell the right story,
Right.
fans are going to get in.
Right. And Mike, think about this too. In the old school days with wrestling, okay, if it's 38 degrees and Bruno Sammartino's got an armbar on Pedro for 20 minutes, yeah, we're going to have a problem. But wrestling's a little more.
But wait a minute. We were also in a heated Madison Square Garden. So, I mean, it's not like you're sitting in a wide open stadium where the wind
Right.
is hurling on you and you're freezing.
Right.
All right.
Right.
So my opinion is this. We'll go through the matches. Some matches we probably don't have to cover that long. Other ones will be a little more in depth. But
Okay.
in my opinion, this WrestleMania has the potential to make one giant shit bomb. It really does. If they make any wrong moves here, it could be really bad. But we'll get to it. So let's open up with night one's first match. Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee versus Santos Escobar. And the now departing the Judgment Day, Dominic Mysterio, to go to the LWO.
Well, I mean, I'm really not, Dominic makes it interesting, right? Is he really departing though? Or I guess that's the seeds that they're sowing right now, right? I mean, it's going to be a good match, but do I care that much about it? No, but it's a nice opening match. It'll be all right. I don't think it'll be a bad match. It'll probably be, look, I have a lot of respect for Escobar, but I liked him back in the day. I was watching him in Mexico. I think that guy's great, so I think that the match will be just fine. And it's a good opener. Coach?
Yeah, I think the whole Judgment Day thing is they've realized they got to spin Rhea off and let her go on her own star tour, and that's fine. I don't like Dominic and Ray anymore. We've done that already. We've done it to death. I think they need to let Dominic go do his thing. I like Santos. I think he's great. I'm glad they got him out of the LWO and got him back with Legato. I think that's a perfect thing for him to shine. I think he has a nice future in this. They're trying to smash Dragon Lee over. Maybe not. I don't think so. This will be what it is. It'll be a spot fest, and it'll get the crowd going early, and it'll probably be, 8 to 10 minutes. And I'm sure Ray will go over to get the night started on a positive.
Boo! I want Dominic to win.
I'm not saying who I wanted. I just think that's what they'll do to kind of get.
Well, all right. So, Coach, you got Ray, and then Jimmy, you've got Dominic.
Okay, Mike, I'm going to do what I always do. I don't make predictions on scripted events. I'm making observations, and I'm observing that I believe that Dominic should go over. That's what I think.
I'm going to go with Ray and Dragon Lee going over just to get the crowd happy and, like Coach and you said, get the crowd warmed up. Here's a match I'm looking forward to. Match number 2: Bianca Belair, Naomi, Jade Cargill making her debut versus Damage Control, Dakota Kai, Asuka, and Kairi Sane. Thoughts on that match?
I think it's smart to put Jade in a 6-way to kind of get her going. I don't think she's ready for a singles match on this stage yet. So I think that's smart. My problem with this is, look, this is the scripted and unreal world of professional wrestling, but Bianca, Naomi, and Jade are huge girls. Dakota Kai, Asuka, and Kairi are not. And I don't know, just the thought of them being able to go toe-to-toe with Bianca, Naomi, and Jade is too much for me, but I understand they needed to get Damage Control on the show. I think Dakota has done a wonderful job since coming back, reinventing herself. Kairi and Asuka, the women's tag division's been rough forever. Could this be they might do a little bit of shenanigans to put Damage Control over to tell a future story? I could see that happening here, but I don't like the matchup. It's too unreal. So it's going to need something devious. And that's why I think Damage Control will find a way to go over.
I agree with that. I feel that Damage Control should win the match. I mean, there's no future for the three of, Belair, Naomi, and Cargill together, is there? So, I mean, I feel like Naomi's being set up to take the pin here. Quite honestly, you're not going to have Belair take it, and you're certainly not going to have Cargill. But, Mike, is this a spot for Cargill to get the win for her team?
I disagree. I think the Cargill team is going to go over, and it's going to be a showcase. They're going to pound Damage Control. It's going to be a squash, and you're going to get to see all these great moves from Jade Cargill and then Bianca and Naomi. I could see this being a very powerful women's faction. Look, I'm a huge Bianca Belair fan. I'm a big Naomi fan, and I got to tell you, I love Jade Cargill. So I'd be shocked if they didn't put them over.
I think that could very well happen. The thing is, look, we all know ultimately the money match here is Jade and Bianca. Right. They've already alluded to it in the Rumble. It's the money match. So to throw any level of curveball here, maybe we plant the initial seed for that. I just think it's a little early, maybe, but we know that match is coming.
Yeah, you join that friendship and then you kind of break it off, right? So this is the start.
And what's the future for Damage Control if they lose?
I think you're seeing the end of Damage Control as Damage Control. Kabuki Warriors, everybody loves Kabuki Warriors. So there's a lot of stuff that could go on. All right, 6-pack ladder match challenge, Judgment Day, Awesome Truth, New Day, the New Catch Republic, and A-Town Down Under. Who's getting over?
The one team you didn't mention, DIY.
Oh, DIY. I apologize. Yes.
Yeah. I feel that DIY is getting over. It's my gut read. I mean, DIY is a great team. They were great in NXT. I still think they're great. I love when they stop and pat themselves on the back and stuff like that. I feel like that's the team. It's going to be a killer match, obviously. And R-Truth is going to once again just entertain the crap out of everybody because boy, talk about an ageless wonder. How old is R-Truth, Mike?
He might be older
He's
than
already.
us.
I think he's close to our age, Jimmy. Might be a year or two younger.
It's amazing. You know, and when I look at all these teams, I say to myself, okay, well, you're not going to, if you put it on the New Day, I'm going to turn it off. All right. I can't stand the New Day to begin with. I would turn the damn thing off. The New Catch Republic, yeah, that's a nice team, but champions, I doubt it. You know, the only two teams that I take seriously here are DIY and, believe it or not, Theory and Waller.
Exactly right.
You know, I mean, Theory and Waller, what is the future for Austin Theory? And more importantly, what is the future for Grayson Waller, who I think is great?
And that's the team. That's the team I'm predicting to win. I think that's the sleeper team.
If I remember this correctly, and look, I may not. I got a lot going on, and who the hell knows?
Oh no, not you.
But I think they said in this they're going to have both sets of belts out there, and you can actually win one, and then someone else win the other.
Wow.
And this could be where they actually split that up. If that's the case, I think it's exactly what you said.
Yeah.
I think DIY takes one.
Yep.
And I think that A-Town Down Under takes the other.
I would be thrilled with that.
They would be an excellent chicken shit heel tag.
Oh my God.
Really would.
That if those two walk out of there with each belt, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Mike, are you sticking with Theory and Waller? What if there's that second belt?
I'm sticking to Theory and Lawler. All right. Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso.
Yeah. Well, I think Jay has to get over. I mean, basically, Jay's over. You're going to have him lose to his brother? Even though I think Jimmy's better than Jay. What the hell do I know? My coach agrees.
I do. I'll be honest with you. I don't care about this match. And I'm a little surprised by it because a twin brother thing is just tailor-made for this type of match. I'm not a big Jay fan. I really haven't.
No yeet.
I'm with you. I like Jimmy better, but they haven't done a good job building Jimmy up. I'm not invested in this match. I can't describe it. Maybe they'll steal the show. I just don't have a lot of interest. I don't see any way Jimmy goes over. Unfortunately, they're going to put Jay over. They see something there. Look, he resonates with the fans, just not with me. But I think Jay will win. It's a match I'll probably go get popcorn during.
Ooh.
This is a match that's crying for a swerve or something. It needs something, but I agree. No interest in this match. I remember Royal Rumble. One of the things that we post on Monte The Pharaoh page was WWE tried Demolition and it just didn't work. Just didn't meet up. Again, you're looking at this card. This is not an overwhelming card right now. It's not like, whoa, I've got to watch these matches. And it gets a little bit worse, in my opinion. Intercontinental title match. Gunther against Sami Zayn.
Oh, there's no way Gunther's not walking out of there with the Intercontinental title. That's how I feel about it. That would be complete suicide to undo what he's in the middle of doing right now. So I don't see Sami Zayn as, being able to beat him. And I feel like it seems like, whether it's the ladies we spoke about earlier or Judgment Day themselves, it seems like we're coming possibly to the end of these factions. So even if there's a Damian Priest cash in, you ain't beating Gunther either. You ain't beating him. You're failing because Gunther needs to eventually fight for that world title with his status intact. And that's how I feel about that. Gunther's great, and he should stay great.
There you go. I talked to y'all about this on Monday. My worry, I'm not predicting it, but my worry is they're going to shoehorn Damian into this as the way to get the belt off of Gunther. Look, we all know he's going on to bigger and better things. The Sammy thing puzzles me. I actually think they could have told a story with Chad Gable. I'm not saying I would have loved it.
Well, let me ask you this: if they insert Stallone coming out with Sammy against Gunther, Stallone walks out with, does that change everything?
It would be interesting. It would be interesting to show the world how much shorter Sylvester Stallone is than Sami Zayn, because I think a lot of people don't realize how tiny he is. But I don't know. I don't know if there's any saving this match. It just doesn't make sense to me. Again, either way you told the story, I could see the Gable Gunther working. And I think they missed the ball on that because they felt like they needed to get Sammy a spot.
And by the way, I still love that Sami Zayn Jackass match. I thought that was one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time.
Great match.
One of the greatest matches.
Great match. Agreed.
All right. Women's World Championship. Rhea Ripley, Becky. Whether we come up with an answer, we're all saying Gunther. It's got to be Gunther.
Yeah.
And we're hoping Damian Priest doesn't cash in, which we're all thinking may be the case. All right. Women's Championship. Rhea Ripley, Becky Lynch.
Well, Rhea's got to go over. I think Rhea should go over, and I think Rhea will go over. You know, it's going to be a great match. I think, Mike, you've been saying that this could be the match of the night. You know,
This will be the match of the night.
I could see it being that very thing. Rhea should continue what she's doing. Look, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, which we will definitely be debating about when we get to night 2, for sure. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There's nothing wrong with Rhea. Rhea's on top of it right now, and she's in the middle of doing what I said she's doing. She's becoming the greatest power woman wrestler in the history of this business. You know, I wouldn't have her losing to the man. And I feel like am I wrong? But I feel like Becky Lynch is losing a little bit of luster. She's still great at what she does, but she doesn't feel like the man as much as she did several years back, Coach.
This match worries me. And I'll tell you why. I thought Rhea Charlotte was the match of WrestleMania last year, hands down. It was my favorite match that I saw. I'm worried I'm approaching this WrestleMania expecting the same, and that might be unfair because I don't know. The size difference is way more significant here than it was with Charlotte. And so some of the believability is gone for me. Now, Becky's great. She's a great performer. It'll be good. Here's my worry. Number one, I'm worried I've built this up too much, and I'm going to be let down just from my own expectations.
Right.
The second worry I have is this. The tag team thing, it's a gimmick. It's a 6-team ladder thing. It's not really a title change. My worry is they're going to feel they need to do a title change on night 1, and I don't think they're going to do it with Gunther. And if they do it with Rhea and Becky, and I think it's the wrong move. I think Rhea needs to go over here, and I don't know where she goes next, but she needs to go over in the spot, and I'm worried they're going to outsmart themselves, put Becky over, and try and tell this story through SummerSlam with those two. I just don't know. I'm worried about it.
I think we might get an old school double count out or disqualification on this.
Interesting.
I always think about Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch in the cage, right? And that was a great match. I don't think these ladies are going to fail us. Coach, I feel exactly the same way. I really got high expectations for this match, and anything less than great will be a failure. So, but I really think these two will perform. Rock and Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins. What's going on there?
Well, you know, it's weird. We did see Bloodline Rules on Raw, did we not?
We did.
So that makes me wonder, you know, are they, you know, I don't want to become a victim of overthinking, but I thought to myself, before we saw Bloodline Rules, they have to have The Rock and Roman Reigns, you know, win this to force Bloodline Rules for night 2. I still feel that they're going to do that. I still feel that The Rock and Roman Reigns are going to win this match. For some reason, I do. I think that you want to go into night 2 feeling like Cody Rhodes has the whole world against him. He's got everything going against him. He's going to have to deal with Bloodline Rules. How could he win? Yada, yada, yada. So I feel like The Rock and Roman Reigns are going to somehow win that match night 1. That's just my thought.
Everything here tells me this is scripted for Rock and Roman to get this done. Bloodline rules sets up all the barriers to Cody,
Right.
and he overcomes. I mean, I may be overthinking this. I think they're laying it on too thick. I'm gonna throw a curveball here, and partly because of what I'm gonna talk about on night 2, which we alluded to a little Monday. I think the opposite happens. I think Cody and Seth go over, and I think they're gonna get some help from a returning Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Interesting. Okay.
Because of what I think is going to happen on night 2. Because they're not going to give, to me, they're not going to have the heels go out or go over 2 nights in a row. I just don't see it. That's because I think what's going to happen the next night is going to be very interesting. I'll give it to Cody and Seth here.
Mike?
All right, well, forward to night 2, so let's get there. I'm going to stick with the old...
Wait, Mike, wait. Well, who do you have winning the tag match night?
I'm going to go with you, Jimmy. I think they have to go with bloodline rules, right? They've got to put everything against Cody, but my answer at the end may be different than yours when we get there. Let's go to night 2. Bobby Lashley, the Street Profits against the Final Testament and the Authors of Pain, giving Karrion Kross his WrestleMania moment. I could care less about this match. It doesn't matter to me at all.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me either at all. Look, they killed Karrion Kross. I'm sorry. You know, he had his momentum when he first showed up, and they have just completely devalued Karrion Kross. I can't take him seriously at all. Not even having Paul Ellering return has done anything, you know. I don't know. I mean, I feel like they'll probably give it, like you say, you want to start the night off with the fans being happy. It'll probably be Lashley and the Street Profits. That's just my vibe on it, Coach.
I don't even know what to expect from this match. To me, the only interesting story they can tell here is a breakup of Lashley and the Street Profits, and might even be breaking up the Street Profits themselves and letting Montez go on and do his thing.
That would be interesting.
That could be an interesting story to get the night going. We haven't talked about a big swerve yet, other than, you know, there might be something in the Jay Jimmy match, but this could be it. That's the only way it's interesting. I liked Cross in NXT, but I don't know that Cross could have been the same character even if they hadn't botched it. I just don't know. I could care less for the AOP. I love Paul Ellering 20 years ago.
Right.
You know, I don't know. The only thing interesting here is if they do something to break up the Street Profits. So I'll say that Cross and AOP go over because of something that goes on with those two.
I think I'm going to watch the final episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm while this.
How did I know?
Because I could care less. And again, going through this list, except for the Becky Lynch match and the main event, so far this card is very underwhelming in my opinion. It's just like, okay, it's like everything is carried on The Rock, Roman, Seth, and Cody. All right, LA Knight, AJ Styles, another throw together match, which again could care less, but I'll go with AJ Styles just because I don't even know what's going to happen. Who cares?
Well, I mean,
did I say AJ Styles? I meant LA Knight. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, the traditionalist in me is offended at the very thought of AJ losing to LA Knight. I'm like, what are you talking about? There's no way he should lose to LA Knight, but he's gonna. That's just my gut read on it. The fans love LA Knight, and that's fine. But I mean, LA Knight, as you know, as over as he is, he can't shine AJ's boots. What? AJ really is a great company guy. I'll say that, because AJ's going to go out there and make LA Knight look like $1 million to the best of his ability. And that doesn't mean LA Knight is a bad wrestler, but LA Knight is what I always say about a lot of guys. He's serviceable. You know, so I expect LA Knight to get over because the fans just absolutely love him. And if he loses, what do you do with him? So, I mean, AJ's obviously comfortable in being Shinsuke Nakamura, you know, currently.
Yeah, they tried to tell this story, and it just hasn't worked. You know, I give them credit. They tried. It just hasn't worked. I agree. I think Knight goes over here. I think AJ has reached the point in his career where what he wants to do is get people over.
Right.
And I think that's what he's going to do for the next year or 2 years.
Right.
I think he's just going to get guys over. I was going to say younger guys. I'm not sure LA Knight is younger.
Not much.
But
Not much.
But yeah. I also think they should have found a way to get LA Knight on WrestleMania last year. They didn't. I think this is going to be the payback for him, and he'll get over.
Right. There you have it.
Again, you know what? Can't disagree with that. All right, United States Championship match: Logan Paul, Randy Orton, Kevin Owens. This is going to be. I'm a big Logan Paul guy. I think this will be a hot match. What are you guys going with on this? I'd like to hear what your thoughts are.
I agree. I think Logan Paul should go over and will go over. I think that this has the potential to be a great match. I mean, you have Randy and Kevin in there, the two of the best veteran workers in the business. And Logan Paul is great. I'm sorry. You don't like him? I don't care. He's fantastic in the ring. Logan Paul showed up and is a pro. I mean, he really is. He's there already. Anything he does is fantastic. He's great on the mic. He's great in the ring. He looks great. He gets the reaction out of the fans every time that he's looking for. The guy is a stud. So I'm looking at Logan Paul winning a really good match. This should be great.
I was surprised this one wasn't on night one, because this one has the ability to be the show stealer. It really does. I don't like triple threat matches, generally speaking. They could tell a really interesting story here, because I think all of us probably expect Logan Paul to carry this belt forward. He needs a good one-on-one matchup to lose it, to put a guy over. I could see a situation where something about this match triggers a Randy, because I think both of these guys are going to need a story going forward. And I think you could tell an excellent story with those two. So I say Logan will go over due to something between Randy and Kevin.
That would be great.
Them forward.
I could see that for sure.
I'm going with that too. I think Logan, you don't take that belt off him. Logan's great. And you know what? I agree. Continue that story with Owens and Randy Orton, and Logan carries on to go against somebody else. Maybe more like here's an interesting thing I was thinking about. Braun Breaker. Yeah. Braun Breaker Gunther or Braun Breaker Logan Paul? I mean, that's the guy that could.
Agreed.
Braun Breaker's a future world champion if they handle this right. I love Braun Breaker. You know how I feel about him.
And he's a perfect foil to the way Logan Paul does things.
Yep.
It's the perfect guy for Logan to lose.
Yep. Agreed.
All right. Now this is where it gets tricky, guys.
Okay.
This is what makes this WrestleMania the most exciting one. World Wrestling Heavyweight Championship, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre. What are they doing here?
Take this one, Coach. I have to think.
I had thoughts on this about a month ago, before they've kind of done what they've done. And look, I understand you want to announce Punk's going to be there. Although I don't know that they needed to sell WrestleMania, but I know why they want to do that. I thought the best story they could have told was Drew's about to win. Punk's music hits. Drew gets distracted, gets rolled up. Drew loses his mind, beats the hell out of Seth. Damian comes down and cashes in on Seth. Like, I could have seen all of this happening. I don't think it's going to happen anymore. The hard part is, I think Drew probably needs to go over here. But again, because of where I'm going later in the night, I'm not so sure they're going to put two heels over. I'll stay with Drew going over, and maybe I'm going to be wrong about the last one, but the beauty of this match is they could tell 10 different stories here, and I don't know which one it's going to be. Punk has to be involved somehow. There's no reason to have him out there if he's not going to get involved somehow. But I'll be honest, I have no idea what they're going to do with this match.
I feel that Punk is
Jimmy, I want to give you time to breathe. I'll make it, and then let me get your final opinion on this. Okay. My belief up to this point is, how could they not give the belt to Drew? I realize now that they're not. CM Punk will be announcing. It will cost Drew the championship, and Seth Rollins will continue to be the champion. There'll be no Damian cash-in, and then there'll be something going on later on in the night. Jimmy?
Interesting.
I agree with that. I mean, what is the future for both of these guys? If Seth Rollins loses, what is his future? If McIntyre loses and Punk has something to do with it, oh well, that explains what his future is. So it makes sense to me that Punk somehow will find a way to screw Drew. Hey, that rhymed. And that's pretty much my take on it.
It's a good point, right? Because Drew then carries on his feud with CM Punk. Seth Rollins, who eventually, after we have this final discussion, will be a heel at that point. And by SummerSlam, Punk and Seth Rollins will be feuding, which we've been waiting for anyway. And, Punk is a major face at this point. All right, here we go. Before we even get into the conversation, I want you to think about this. You own the WWE. Is Cody your man? Is Cody your man? Undisputed heavyweight, Universal Championship, the GOAT, Roman Reigns, the head of the table, against formerly known as Stardust, Cody Rhodes.
Jesus Christ.
Where are we going with this, gents?
With a setup like that, formerly known as Stardust, what's there to talk about? There's nothing to talk about. Stardust gets squashed, and Mike leaves happy and goes to White Castle, which is right down the block from his house. There you go. Okay,
That's right. That's right. I'll be celebrating.
Yeah, and then you call me up on the phone. Wrestling is great. I still love it. I'm not going to stop watching. Unbelievable.
You know what's funny? The only way I think this works with Cody, because I mean, I've already hinted enough, and we did it Monday on exactly what I think is going to happen.
All right.
The only way this works with Cody is they put him over Roman, which I think is a terrible idea. And honest to God, as crazy as this sounds, somebody takes it off of him the Raw after Mania. Cody has to be chasing. They can get the feel-good story for one night, but they've got to have Cody chasing. He doesn't work on top. It won't last a month with him on top. And so, yeah, you could tell the great story and then have him get screwed again. They took it off my daddy in the garden. I mean, it could be all of that stuff. But, I mean, that's the only way, and it's an insane story. But no, he should not be on top. He's always got to be the underdog chasing the top. The big dog needs to be on top.
Well, you've made Mike very happy, I'll tell you that.
It's true.
Well, I'm still waiting. What's the story, Coach? Stone Cold. I've been waiting to hear this. What are we doing here?
Well,
You're gonna steal my thunder.
I think 100% Stone Cold's involved. Now, whether it's night one or night two
Right.
is up to be, but he's going to get involved with The Rock one way or the other.
Okay.
I
Go ahead.
I think they tease
Go ahead.
over and over that The Rock's going to turn on Roman because everyone expects it. I think they've done 2 straight weeks of beat downs on the faces. So everyone expects that means the faces are going over. I think they're throwing a big swerve out. I think The Rock ends up helping Roman retain. And Roman walks out of WrestleMania with the belt, as I believe he should. Because that sets up what to me is the biggest match they have. It is no longer Rock Roman. It's Rock Cody. And that can set up Rock Cody at SummerSlam.
All right, Jimmy, you want me to go and then you're going to finish off the show, or you want to go and I'll finish off the show? Your call, buddy.
Well, I already know what you're going to say, but I mean, I've known you for 40-something years. But go ahead, Mike. You go first. Well,
My prediction is it's Bloodline rules. Seth Rollins will turn on Cody Rhodes, but that won't work. Okay, it won't work. Somehow Cody's going to survive getting. First, you'll have the Bloodline interfering throughout the whole thing, but Cody keeps surviving. Seth Rollins gets involved. He survives. Then you think it's the end, but this is the thing everybody's forgetting, and this is what I'm going to stand with. The first night that Cody returns to Raw, who does he have a interaction with? Do you guys remember? Triple H. Triple H is going to come down and he is going to screw Cody Rhodes. And the tribal chief will continue. And I am going to stand by that. The WWE has been so good into keeping their storylines if you remember, Triple H tells Cody that first night, play it on YouTube. He says, if you need any help, I'm here for you. And what does Cody say? Nah, I'm good. And walks away from him. And then you get the Triple H stare. This is what we're going to get. And our tribal chief will continue on. Jimmy, you want to finish us off?
Okay. All right. Well, you asked for it. What I want doesn't matter. What I want is for Roman Reigns to win and retain. And I do think that that's best for business. However, this is the boy who cried wolf. You're not going to do this 2 years in a row to Cody Rhodes. And if you do, you run the risk of really pissing off your paying customer base. Now, I understand that we're in the minority when it comes to wanting Roman to win. All right. But look at it this way. You got bloodline rules, right? I see The Rock obviously trying to keep the belt on his cousin. Okay. Even if Triple H, what would really be great is The Rock comes out, gives Cody a rock bottom. It looks bad for Cody. Somehow Cody kicks out. Then Triple H comes out and hits him with a pedigree. And this is when the glass crashes. And Stone Cold Steve Austin comes out and does for Cody Rhodes what he did for Mick Foley all those years ago. WWE is moving again in a much more aggressive nature. And for Stone Cold to come out and end the night with those fans who are at this point ballistic and foaming at the mouth for justice to be served. The glass crashes. Austin comes out. Stunner! Oh, my God. Grabs Cody and throws his lifeless body on top of the tribal chief with the figures and everything, because we still love Stone Cold Steve Austin unconditionally. The roof caves in, and Cody Rhodes, when he comes to, goes to his mom in the first row and hands her the belt in tears like a Cody crybaby. And that's what I think should happen.
It's Mick Foley all over again. Let me say this real quick. Whether Cody goes over or not, we've got to get the rubber chicken involved this year.
The rubber chicken?
Have to get the rubber chicken
Oh,
back.
for God's sakes. The rubber chicken.
Yo, Jimmy, I got to tell you, that ending is something that, listen, wrestling is all you remember is the ending. No matter what happens, night one, night two, it could all be the shits. In the end, if it ends like that, even being a Roman Reigns guy, how can I argue with that ending?
You're going to go nuts. You see, that's what I'm always looking for. I'm always looking for not what I want. What I want the crowd to go ballistic one way or the other. And that would, and don't tell me Stone Cold's not in fighting shape, because he still is. We saw him with KO. You know what I mean? And if he comes out there, Philadelphia will go berserk. Absolutely berserk. You know, and as far as Cody Rhodes holding the belt, it doesn't matter. You know, he could hold it for a week. He could hold it for a couple of months. You know, I mean, he'll fight. By the way, I got to get this in. Cody Rhodes is the greatest face we have seen in years. I don't want that to be lost here. You know, I know we're bad guy rooters. I know we like the heels, but Cody Rhodes has been a special face, and he has played the long game here. And what is the old moral? Good things come to those who wait. Well, if he's not the definition of that, with his mom in the first row, I'm sorry, Cody. I don't see it. I don't see it. So I think the glass is going to crash and the place is going to erupt, and they're going to get what they want. They're all going to go home happy, even though they're probably going to be throwing snowballs at each other in the parking lot because it's Philly.
But you know, right? They will be going home happy. And then guess what? The ratings will drop in a matter of 2 months. I'm always right about this, because Cody cannot carry this organization. And that is a big problem.
Like, how about this, though? He comes out the next night, and of course, he thanks everybody, and he's proud, and he talks about his father and all that stuff. And then we can begin the program that you were getting to earlier. He defends the title against The Rock. Great program. Cody will remain relevant that way for a while, at least.
I don't want to see The Rock in any kind of watch with the title on the line at all.
And I don't think The Rock. I don't think The Rock is going to be around. Look, to me, Jimmy and Coach, there's more end game to Roman staying champion than Cody becoming champion. If Roman remains champion, The Rock's going back to movies. Monday Night Raw, the bloodline would be celebrating in the ring, and guess what would happen? Roman would say, okay, Dwayne, thanks for the help. And the bloodline would attack Rock and destroy him. And goodbye, Rock. And then he disappears and then comes back for SummerSlam to get back to the head of the table. Listen, more than likely, Cody's winning this belt. But in business, I got to go with Coach on this. There's more of an end game. Where do you go with Cody after this? Gunther? Okay. Steph? Okay. What, a unification match? You put a lot of time into Roman. A lot to think about. But anyway, guys, been on long enough. I want to thank you guys. Jimmy, great job as always, Coach. What an honor to have you on the show. Listen, we're only literally 72 hours away from knowing what is eventually going to happen. And there could be some happy fans and some sad fans. But you know what? Jimmy, I got to tell you, that ending was pretty incredible. I could buy into it. I would go off on that. Seeing Stone Cold come out and destroy the bloodline, I'd be like, oh my God, it's the greatest thing ever.
That's the ending that, quite honestly, makes everybody happy. You know, I mean, I guess I'm a bit of a crowd pleaser. That at the end of the day, I'm looking to make everybody happy, satisfied with the ending of WrestleMania, and that would be pretty satisfying to see that happen.
Absolutely. Coach, you want to send us out?
You've been listening to Monte and the Pharaoh.
Later.
In my dreams, in my dreams, you're like the way it's supposed to be here. Yeah. Come on.